In Islamic jurisprudence, there are four primary sources, that is the Quran, the Sunnah, Ijma and Qiyas. In this research paper, one of those primary sources, Ijma, will be discussed about its role in contemporary Islamic finance. Ijma can be defined as the unanimous agreement of mujtahid from the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam after his death in any matter. The objective of this research paper is to find out how Ijma works in this modern Islamic finance. One importance of Ijma is we can know about the prohibition of interest, that is riba. Through the proper discussion, there are some reasons that make any transaction become forbidden that access from its trade, like raw element and application of riba.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Today I want to talk about the role of Ijma in contemporary Islamic finance. Introduction of Ijma is Ijma literally meaning to determine and agree upon something. Besides its technical meaning, the unanimous agreement of the mujtahidin of the Muslim community of any period following the demise of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on any matters pertaining to Islam, whether in belief or moral and legal matters. The Islamic finance, its ruling can be classified into Ijma and non-Ijma. Dealing with any issue in Islamic finance requires scholars to identify its status from this perspective.
The objective of role of Ijma in contemporary Islamic finance to find out how Ijma work in Islamic finance. We must know what Ijma did in Islamic finance so that we can know what can and cannot done in Islamic finance. Other than that, we also can know about the prohibition of interest. With that, we cannot start in prohibition of interest.
I would like to talk about conventional insurance as our discussion issue. In the domain of contract financial exchange, insurance is a type of commercial contract. Customers who join an insurance program as contributor purchase an insurance policy from the firm that selling policy, which is a promise of protection in particular circumstance outlined in the contract. The problem with it is that there is no definitive answer from modern scholars as to whether or not it complies with Islamic Sharia. It is because some academic content that Islamic law permits conventional insurance, which is number 1, insurance is a modern contract that lack of clear evidence, and original law govern every situation unless there is evidence to the contrary. Additionally, it is based on a verse from the Quran. Number 2, in Qiyas on Akad in insurance to the concept of mu'alah. Akad mu'alah is an agreement between two parties where one party pay diyat to the party for the criminal act he committed. They also agree to inherit from each other. This concept has existed since before Islam and confirmed by Islam according to the opinions of Ibn Abbas, Ibn Mas'ud and Mazhab Hanafi. Number 3, in case an insurance contract to mudawabah contract, some scholars that recognize conventional insurance also alludes to conventional insurance with a mudawabah contract. They think that conventional insurance in practice is similar with mudawabah contract transaction. This opinion is held by Sheikh Abdul Wahab Khalaf.
Now, let's jump into the solution of the issue. As we know, the Ijma method is applied widely in purpose to lead the issues to the consensus for its rulings. In the prohibition of conventional insurance, its prohibition is formed through Ijma method, and it is caused of 3 illegal elements. The first element is gharar. Basically, gharar means uncertainty, which is it opposes with the expectation of certainty and openness in business dealings, and it occurs with unclear ownership. The basic concept of gharar is the sale of what is not present. This is the main factor on its prohibition because it practices the unclear contract as Islam demands for a clear contract. Secondly, the system of conventional insurance also contains qimar and maisir elements, which is an arrangement in which property ownership is contingent upon the happening of uncertain events. Its basic concept is a party lose, a party earn. Regarding to its transfer risk system and concept, it brings to the conventional insurance illegality in Islamic ruling. The third element is riba. Basically, riba is also known as interest in banking glossary, where the insured pays the premium, which is used by the insurance firm to demand protection and gain profits, with the guarantee whether there is any claim or not. Moreover, its prohibition is already stated in Surah Al-Imran verses 132, which means, O believers, take not doubled and redoubled interest, and fear God, so that you may prosper. Fear the fire which has been prepared for those who reject faith, and obey God and the Prophet, so that you may receive mercy.
The last part is conclusion. Ijma is a valid source of Islamic law which connects the ruling derived from divine revelation through the process of human reasoning. According to Imam al-Shafi'i, matters related to religious obligation can be solved by Ijma only when the evidence in the Quran and Sunnah on the same matters is unclear. Zahra. Some jurists argue that is only applicable in juridical or religious matters. The jurists agree that Ijma can be used as one of the sources of Islamic law in determining or arriving at legal rules. However, the corrupt jurists of fiqh are divided into two main categories of divisional matters, ibadat and civil transaction muamalat. Ijma, as there are issues related to the qualification of mujtahid and declaration of ijma. So in the contemporary Islamic world, fatwa are generated based on collective ijtihad, which is considered a level below ijma. And fatwa generated by collective ijtihad not binding and also can be changed.
I'm gonna talk about conventional insurance and its status in Islamic ruling. Let me introduce about it. Insurance is a commercial contract that is include the category of contract financial exchange. Basically, there are three different types of conventional insurance, which are life insurance, medical insurance, and general insurance. Each type is used to provide a different kind of protection. Life insurance is used to protect you by providing a sum of money for yourself on your dependents. For instance, children and elderly parents in the event of permanent disability, critical illness, or death. General insurance is to protect yourself from financial loss against a possible broad swath of events or loss, and is a broad category that includes everything from travel insurance to car insurance. In the particular life insurance 140 Islamic finance in practice involve the use of certain elements that directly contradict the rules of Sharia. The illegal elements are: first, al-maisir is known as gambling. Literally, it is defined as the policyholder lost the premium paid if he or she does not claim or the loss does not occur. Second, gharar is defined as uncertainty. It is against Sharia rules to sell any contract involving uncertainty and doubt. In Islam, uncertainty is prohibited in business contracts. And last is riba. This is also known as interest and defined as making money on money. Sharia rules prohibit any activity involving interest. Most conventional insurers invest in interest-bearing assets, for example, the government or company bonds.
Now, let's dive into the general ruling of conventional insurance illegality. Since the Ijma method, works as the third source in deciding the current issues to the consensus for its ruling, the outcome of its status is confirmed through some persuasive and concrete reason based on sacred texts. Moreover, the prohibition of conventional insurance is formed through Ijma method and caused of three illegal elements.
The conventional insurance is totally prohibited in Islamic rulings by scholars' consensus, which is by applying Ijma method. This is because this conventional insurance consists of three illegal elements. First of all, gharar or uncertainty element. Its prohibition mentioned in hadith that is la tabai ma laysa indak, which is mean sell not what is not with you. Second, kima and maisir. We can see its prohibition mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah verses 219. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Yas'alunaka 'anil khamri wal maisir. Qul fihima ithmun kabirun wa manafi'u lin-nasi wa ithmuhuma akbaru min naf'ihima. Sadaqallahul azim. They ask you, O prophet, about intoxicants and gambling. Say, there is great evil in both, as well as some benefit for people, but the evil outweighs the benefit. Last but not least, there is riba element. Its prohibition also stated in Surah Al-Baqarah verses 275. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Wa ahallallahu al-bai'a wa harrama ar-riba. Sadaqallahul azim. But Allah has permitted trading and forbidden interest.
Next, case analysis for prohibition of conventional insurance based on Al-Quran in Islamic finance. Ijma is one of the Islamic primary sources after Al-Quran and Sunnah. The role of Ijma also helped a lot of Muslims to know more about Islamic law. The analysis that we got from the role of Ijma in Islamic finance is that help a lot of Muslims to know about prohibition of interest in Islamic finance. Other than that, we can know what transaction that we can do following the Islamic ruling. As we know, riba is forbidden in Islamic ruling because the prohibition of riba is clearly stated in Quran based on Surah Ali Imran verses 130. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu la ta'kulur riba ad'afan mudha'afa wattaqullaha la'allakum tuflihun. Meaning, O believer, do not consume interest multiplying its many time over, and be mindful of Allah so you may prosper. Based on this Quran verse, as Muslim, we must prevent ourselves from being involved in riba issue because riba can make our wealth unfulfilled. In conventional insurance, it contains riba in the system too, because it had interest there, such as 10% interest for each insurance. So Muslim must take note if they want to use conventional insurance, even though they have much of an advantage, but when it's content interest there, it can be forbidden for Muslims. Based on Surah Al-Baqarah verses 276, A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Yamhaqullahu riba wa yurbis sadaqat. Wallahu la yuhibbu kullu kafarin asim. The meaning is Allah has made interest fruitless and charity fruitful, and Allah does not like any ungrateful evildoer. Based on these verses, we know that interest is so meaningless, even though it can increase our wealth, and Allah wants Muslim to do charity because it's so meaningful and can make our wealth less, even if we cash out our money. The conventional insurance system also requires participation in interest-based transaction in other ways. As a Muslim, it is necessary to prevent ourselves from involving in the interest issue. Next, case analysis for prohibition of conventional insurance based on Al-Quran in Islamic finance. Ijma is one of the Islamic primary sources after Al-Quran and Sunnah. The role of Ijma also helped a lot of Muslims to know more about Islamic law. The analysis that we got from the role of Ijma in Islamic finance is that help a lot of Muslims to know about prohibition of interest in Islamic finance. Other than that, we can know what transaction that we can do following the Islamic ruling. As we know, riba is forbidden in Islamic ruling because the prohibition of riba is clearly stated in Quran based on Surah Ali Imran verses 130. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا الربا أضعافا مضاعفة واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. Meaning, all believer, do not consume interest multiplying its many time over, and be mindful of Allah so you may prosper. Based on this Quran verse, as Muslim, we must prevent ourselves from being involved in riba issue because riba can make our wealth unfulfilled. In conventional insurance, it contains riba in the system too, because it had interest there, such as 10% interest for each insurance. So Muslim must take note if they want to use conventional insurance, even though they have much of an advantage, but when it's content interest there, it can be forbidden for Muslims. Based on Surah Al-Baqarah verses 276, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يمحق الله الربا ويربي الصدقات والله لا يحب كل كفار عظيم. The meaning is Allah has made interest fruitless and charity fruitful, and Allah does not like any ungrateful evildoer. Based on these verses, we know that interest is so meaningless, even though it can increase our wealth, and Allah wants Muslim to do charity because it's so meaningful and can make our wealth blessed, even if we cash out our money.
In my turn, I will talk about prohibition of conventional insurance based on hadith in Islamic finance. Al-Jurjani defines Gharar as something whose final outcome is unknown whether it will happen or not. Some other define Gharar as a contract where the outcome is unknown or hidden, or one of the possibilities where the frequent events are more feared. In conventional insurance, the Gharar element occurs because the subject of the contract, which is the protection policy, is something that is uncertain whether it will happen or not. In the hadith text, there are indeed hadiths that directly prohibit the sale and purchase of Gharar, in addition to examples of sale and purchase containing Gharar from those hadiths, as recorded by Imam Muslim. The definition given by classical scholars can be divided into three options. Ibn Abidin defines Gharar as a doubt about the existence of the goods, whether or not the goods that have been purchased can be obtained. Ibn Hazan also defines Gharar as ignorance, which is ignorance of the goods being sold. The buyer does not know what he is buying, and the seller also does not know what he is selling. While the third opinion is to combine the two definitions above, as Al-Saraki define Gharar as what brings to hidden and unknown consequences, and this definition is held by the most Islamic classical scholars.
In conclusion, Islam provides good ways to keep away from such troubles and advertise whenever such things occur, and only one should try to minimize his or her family financial losses. All Muslims are advised to only participate in takaful business in order to protect themselves and their families. Takaful can provide financial assistance while remaining free from the prohibited elements involving in the insurance practice.